Here are the top stories we're following on KGUY News Radio for this Monday afternoon, April 9th. Federal officials say the crisis at the 3 Mile Island nuclear power plant is over, but Pennsylvania Governor Dick Thornburg says the state will continue to monitor the situation on a 24-hour basis. Thornburg also says it's safe for pregnant women and preschool children to return to their homes near that facility. The Pennsylvania Public Utility Commission staff had asked the PUC to reconsider a $49 million rate increase granted last month to Metropolitan Edison, primarily operator of the 3 Mile Island facility. Staff attorneys say the increase was based on operating costs, which now appear unlikely. A federal judge has granted a reprieve for Charles Bell 2 days before Bell was to die in the Mississippi gas chamber. The judge ruled that Bell's conviction and sentence would be reviewed by a federal court to see if any of his constitutional rights were violated. No hearing date was set. Bell was convicted of killing a service station attendant in 1976. Illinois Attorney General William Scott was indicted today on 5 counts of income tax evasion, but Scott says he'll continue to campaign for the Republican nomination for the 1980 Senate election. Scott says a year-long federal investigation into his finances was politically motivated. At least 5 persons have been killed on icy highways in Michigan as fickle spring weather persists in northern states. Heavy ice snapped power lines that darkened about 180,000 homes, and tornadoes have injured 19 persons in Arkansas and 9 people in Georgia. A body was taken today from the Illinois River, and officials say it could be one of the 30 alleged sex murder victims of John Gacy Jr. Gacy has been charged with killing 7 boys and young men. 29 bodies were found previously on Gacy's property northwest of Chicago. A spokesman for the hospital industry says inflation and increased patient admissions pushed hospital costs up 14.4% for last January as compared to January '78. Said the industry will continue to try to meet its goal of holding hospital cost increases to 11.6% in 1979. Bomb threats temporarily halted proceedings at the Ontario legislature today and disrupted classes at an elementary school. No bombs were found. Police think one person was responsible for both threats. The Army has lowered minimum mental standards for women volunteers. The idea is to stem an unexpected downward turn in the enlistment of women. Syria has been criticized in a House floor debate as a radical Arab nation trying to ruin President Carter's Middle East peace effort. Today, the House voted to suspend U.S. aid to Syria, cutting out a U.S. economic aid bill, $45 million, that would have been earmarked for Syria. But the House also added a provision that would allow President Carter to restore the aid to Syria if he decides it's in the national interest. The aid bill must be approved by both houses of Congress and signed by the President before it becomes law. Laid-off auto workers were recalled in some plants today as U.S. automakers scrambled to keep their assembly lines rolling during the Teamsters strike and lockout, but some 90,000 workers still are idle, most of them Chrysler employees. And a hospital industry spokesman says inflation and increased patient admissions pushed hospital costs up nearly 14.25% this first month of the year compared to the previous January. Those are the top stories we're following. This is your news and information station. KGUY News Radio time, 3:47. KGUY News Radio time, 3:58. Despite the coming spring, winter is not releasing its icy grip on New England. Snow fell across Vermont, New Hampshire, and southern Maine. The northern 2/3 of New York received snow as well. And the snow is expected to continue over much of the area as a low-pressure system centers in Pennsylvania and makes its way up the Atlantic coast and through the Gulf of Maine tonight. Winter storm warnings have been continued across northeastern New York, southern Vermont, most of New Hampshire, and southwestern Maine. Between 6 and 8 inches of snow is likely across interior sections of the area. Lesser amounts are expected near the coast, where snow will mix with or change to rain. Return of more winter-like weather also is anticipated for parts of Colorado. A winter storm watch has been issued for tomorrow over the Colorado mountains. Strong winds cause problems in some parts of the country today. Gale warnings are posted along the coast of North Carolina, California, and New England. Showers continued along the southern half of the Ohio Valley and the Atlantic coast from northern Florida into southern New England. There were a few thunder showers across northern Florida into South Carolina, some snow in Ohio. Showers and thunder showers were reported in New Mexico and West Texas. The temperatures around the nation at 2 o'clock Eastern Standard Time range from 27 degrees in Houghton, Michigan to 88 degrees in Fort Lauderdale, Florida. The Desert Empire forecast, travelers advisory today due to strong winds blowing dust and sand. Strong northwesterly winds at 30 to 45 miles per hour with local areas of blowing dust and sand diminishing late tonight, but increasing again Tuesday morning. Coming up in the next 30 minutes, we'll have news as it happens from around the world, across the nation, the state, and the Desert Empire. In addition, special feature reports coming up in this next half hour on KGUY News Radio include a look at sports with Nat Ash. We'll have a report on today's consumer items with consumer reporter Jim Newman. Coming up at 4:23, it's the mature American, Dr. B. Francis Klein, and at 4:25, the American character, Dr. Norman Vincent Peale. All this as you listen to the world on KGUY.
This is KGUY News Radio, 1270. KGUY, Palm Desert.